Today, Notre Dame on Senior Day in South Bend beat Georgia Tech convincingly by a final score of 55-0. As I was sitting here, kind of between game time and before clicking going live here, it was I don't know. It was sort of interesting. I mean, what do you say about a game like that? First of all, I gotta be honest. I was sort of surprised by how seemingly helpless Georgia Tech looked for most of this game. Obviously, they picked up a few yards on a couple of drives, but obviously not anything sustainable to be able to even get any points on the scoreboard. If you'd have asked me prior to this game, I don't think I would have told you that Notre Dame would have shut out Georgia Tech or really any team on their schedule. So obviously that's a good thing. We're going to go in, we're going to talk about the defense with more specifics here soon. And offensively, I think that the point that I'd like to make is look how far, regardless of how good or bad Georgia Tech is, look how far Notre Dame has come in the time that in the time that we saw them early on in the season, struggle for, at least a bit against Florida State, struggle at times against Toledo, against the offensive line, with the offensive line, against Toledo's defensive line, I guess I should say. Really, I guess, to give my sort of general thoughts on today and through 11 games this season as Notre Dame sits at 10-1, I got to be honest, I wish Notre Dame would have hit the ground running a little bit better than they had, certainly. I wish that Notre Dame, it didn't take quite so long to get continuity on the offensive line. I know that's something that the broadcast had talked about quite a bit in terms of, the difference now seems to be that Notre Dame, their offensive line is playing with chemistry and they're all on the same page. I wish some of those things had happened a little faster because we're going to talk about things like the college football playoff. I think there's a chance that Notre Dame gets in. If you've been on here with Nathan and I over the past however many weeks that we've done this, or one of us has done this, let's put it that way. You've heard us say time and time again that, we refuse to believe that Notre Dame's, to let ourselves believe that Notre Dame is a college football playoff contender. But then it seems like week after week, especially these last 3 weeks, as we've kind of turned the corner and turned the page into November, Notre Dame looks more and more like a college football playoff contender, especially based on, what they've done over the course of, especially the last 3 weeks in particular. I thought at different times Notre Dame has looked really good throughout, the 11 games that they've played. And, but today, and as a couple of you, well, one of you is saying here in the chat, and we appreciate your comments. If you've got them, let them fly. Notre Dame 2164 says that's the first complete game I've seen Notre Dame play. I guess I would sort of argue kind of the same. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily argue against that, although I will say that, you've seen flashes of some really good performances over really the month of November.